Hi, welcome back to Battleboards Bunker and the final set of the Lord of the Rings movies, which looks at how the castle board was put together. Now the castle was quite a complicated piece. It's built from a model kit, the majority of the castle, but we had to do some modifications to that, which you'll see in the movie. So I hope you enjoy watching. Okay, so this is the main castle board. It's sort of, the castle's made up of pretty much the three boards put together, but we'll have a look at the castle in more detail, and because it has so many different elements to it, it'd be worth having a look at this separately. And it's worth noting that also that this balustrade is also fixed in that position, because there was no point in making it removable, because there was no way you could move between the two towers at this level. So I fixed that. So the first one to probably pick out is that this wall here is removable. So that exposes the two floors in the tower, so you can actually get access to those. Just get the camera in there so you can see. And also it sort of makes it easier if you've got troops on the outside trying to fight their way through to the main tower. Then you can have troops on either side, so it's quite nice that you can actually see both of them together. That's not magnetically connecting, that just sits in there quite nicely by itself, so I didn't put any magnets in that. But this is quite an interesting piece, because it allows you to get to the top of the sort of castle, if you like. So if troops do manage to get this far, they can actually assault the castle lower walls at the rear of the castle and get access maybe through that way. This is the main gate, or the main door to get access to the castle. This is actually operating, so you can close this off or have it open, depending upon how you want it, and that gives you access to the sort of main chamber. And then we have a similar gate entrance to the rear courtyard, and then there's a ground floor access which gives you access to the main hall, like a side entrance or secret entrance. Steps up to the rear of the castle. This is where the outer wall will sit in front, and we'll go through that in a minute. And then this is the rear of the castle, so you can come up through to the rear. This is where the cove board sits, in front of here, and again the doors are opening and closing at the top. And if we have a quick look at the inside of the main hall, you can see that that's the entrance or the exit, which we pointed out in the inner courtyard. We have some steps going up to the secondary platform, and these are removable. There was no real reason to make these removable, apart from the fact that I thought it might be quite interesting. If people did get into the inner courtyard, then you could perhaps destroy the staircase, making it harder to actually assault the upper floors. But that pretty much stays in its place. And if we just slowly rotate round, you can see there's the rear door. And then on the other side, you have, where the meet and greet would be for the actual, where you would actually meet and greet. There's also another entrance there, which would actually get you into the sort of inner workings of the castle itself. So that could be an entrance that goes down to a dungeon area, that could be off table or something like that. So that gives you that access, or you could just assume that there are other ante-rooms or chambers beyond visible. And then there's the front door that gives you the main access from the front. And then this is the main tower area, so we'll have a look at how that's constructed. And again, you can see there's exits into the upper walls. So the upper wall sections come off again, so you can traverse through to the rear section and maybe put miniatures in the towers if you want to have them hidden. Okay, so we're go ahead and construct the main tower first. So that starts with the first section, which is the section with the windows, with the curved windows in, and the door faces away, so we'll call this the front. So the door faces to the rear, that magnetically connects onto the castle there. Next goes on the sort of viewing platform. So that sits with the sort of trapdoor sort of back left. That goes that way around. And then we have the Queen. She sits inside there, and she's magnetically connecting, so you don't have to have her in. So if you wanted to put more troops in, you can just take her out. And then the roof section sits on top of that as well. And it's interesting. It's worth noting that the Queen statue can come out of the sort of viewing platform and will actually fit in the top as well if you wanted her right at the top. Okay, next we're putting the castellations. So you have several of these. So this one's the front one with the missing piece on the right hand side, and it's got F written on the front, on the bottom, so you know which one it is. So that's front. If you find that a bit tricky to get in, just move the castle tower to just one side and then just move it back in again after you've put it in place. Next we have the right side. That's got the right RS written on the back of it, and it's also the one with the steps. So the steps again obviously fit underneath the doorway. You can just move the tower to one side, push the castellations in, and then just push the tower back to meet it. The final one, which is obviously the left side, which has got LS written on the bottom of it, that will sit in that one there like that. Okay, so with the main construction of the tower, we can now put on the smaller towers. So the smaller towers are all individual. So there's obviously front left, rear right and rear left. So FL1 is front left tower 1, level 1. I've marked each tower individually, so FL2, just in case you split them up, which you can do. You can just make one massive great big tower if you want. It also does make a difference where the tower sits and where it's rotated due to the weathering and things that I've done. So to allocate how they go back together, just in case you get stuck, I've marked it with a black mark on one of the sort of pieces that goes into the base, so the sort of male piece that goes into the female, and then I've put some black marks on there so you know which one matches up with which. So you shouldn't get into too much trouble if you do split them all off. For the purpose of the video, I'm just going to keep them together. They'll be packed together, so you shouldn't have too much trouble getting them all out and putting them in. So we're going to start off with this one, which is front left tower 1. Obviously it goes that way round because of the way the balustrade meets the other balustrades, and the doors are at the back. So we'll spin round and do the rear one. So this one will be the rear right one, and I've also marked the tops RRT for the top with the black marks, so you can see how it all fits together. They're a little bit tricky to get together, but once you've got it, you'll suss it out, and then that will just sit in there like that. So we'll then do the final tower, which is this one, which is the tallest one, and again I've marked each one. So this is rear left 1, and then that will sit in there like that, and that gives you all the full towers then. So with all the towers put in place, we can then put the roof section in. So it's probably easier just to sort of lift over and place that in over the top after the towers are in. That also means that you can take it on and off during gameplay. Now there is a right and a wrong way round for the roof. So it's the one that looks like it's got a damaged tile on the left. That's because it sits in tight on the square tower, but effectively that just drops in over the top. And I didn't put any magnets in this because I mean it's held really firmly anyway, so that's not going to go anywhere when it's actually put in place. So once that roof section's in, it won't go anywhere, and I was really pleased with the detailing on the front, which is all custom laser cut just for the project. So that worked out really well, and that has the same on the rear of the castle as well. Okay, so now with the main castle built, you can put the front gatehouse onto the castle. That works with the other board. So you put the other board in first. That just slides into position like this, and then it will sit on top. Now you can use it without the main board. I've finished off this facing here just to give it a sort of rough stone finish. So if you wanted to, you could actually use some of the steps from the actual Lake Town village, and you could just place them in there, and effectively just use that extra ground for something else, or it could be under construction or something like that. So just gives you a little bit for flexibility if you wanted to. So this is the main gatehouse piece, and that just sits up against the castle board, and it just basically sits in there. It's weighty enough not to need any fixing, so it just pushes in, and the gates open and close. And you've also got these little portholes as well, so they open, so you can always push them open. As part of the gatehouse, I've also included this extra platform. This is specifically made so you can put the GW trebuchets in, or other sort of siege engines. Just gives you a little extra room on the back end. It also gives you a space to have extra troops to line up and things. So that's something I included. Just to give you a bit more sort of flexibility. So before putting the last piece of the castle wall together, you need to obviously put the boards together. So this is obviously the two village boards without all the buildings in, just to make it easier to show you how it puts together. So you could do this first before putting the village together. Okay, with the boards now put in place, we can now put in the last remaining piece of wall for the castle. Now I've called this two sections. I've called this Tower A and B. So you'll find that it's labelled Tower A and B in the same sort of format as we did before. The only difference being I've labelled it WTT. So it's wall, tower, top, A, and so forth through down the floors. Now this sits in this position here, but it's a bit tight. So the way to get it in is to just slightly prise apart the board and put the wall in position first, which goes in like this, butts up tight against the wall section there, and then the board then can be pushed back into its place. So it sits in pretty much like that. So you just give it a good push, and you'll find, again, I've not made any extra fixings for that because I think that's tight enough as it is. So that will just sit in there. And then the tower on the left hand side there, which is WT1, wall tower 1B, will sit in that position there, like so. And then there's extra walls that go from this onto the ocean board, but effectively you could use it without those. So this could be how you set it up, or you can use the extra walls, but we'll look at the next board in a minute. And then just to finish off that tower, to actually get access from it from the rear courtyard, there's a set of steps, which are the ones with the large base that just magnetically connect in there, and that allows you to get access to this door here. Okay, so the final part of the castle are the two outer walls. So you have one that's a sort of zigzaggy type wall, and one that's sort of angled. The zigzaggy one goes on this side facing, and the piece of rockwork sort of sits in between this gap here, so that just sort of rests in there. So I didn't want to embed that in the board, as I didn't, because I wanted it removable, so you could use it as a sort of smaller fortification. And then on the other side, we have the other sort of angle piece, and that sits in there like that. As to the external parapet, could be internally via the actual towers. I have included one extra door, so you can just place that there. I've not made any magnetic connections because I just thought it was just an extra piece that you could add in, so that pretty much just sits there. Or you can situate it on the other side, so it's just like an extra little detail that you can use. So that just gives you an overview of how the walls look when it's completed, and obviously when you put the village in there, that will just finish it off really nicely. And I've also included some trees, or a couple of little tree bits. These can just be pushed in into the board, to the foam. They'll just hold in very well, and then when you remove them you won't see a hole or anything, so don't try and find the same hole, just reposition it, and then extra little bits and pieces you can add just for extra cover or extra detailing or include as part of the set. And this is of course a close look at the main board, which is the ocean board. This is bigger than any other boards. It's a 4 foot by 2 foot board because I decided I didn't want to split the ocean in half. It's extremely heavy. It was made, like I said, for a demo board, so the client at the time didn't worry about the weight. He just wanted it to look really cool. So he decided that it would be okay to make it as a double board. It takes 2 people to lift, so it is fairly big, but I'll just run you through some of the features that the board has. This is just a quick look at the back of the cove, so you can see the cove, and these are the steps up to the rear of the castle, so that's where the castle board will sit. So this is a look at the cove from above. You can see this is the sort of cove entrance that came through from the village. So that's what it looks like from this side. It also has flickering torches, which I'll show you in a minute. This is a look at the rear of the board. So this is where all the electronics is held inside the board. And this is the switch for the lighting, which will turn on the LEDs and the fibre optics, which fire up the sort of flashing torches, and this is where the battery is held, and so you push that in and pull it out with your finger, and you'll be able to change the battery over and then just pop a new one in, but it should last quite a long time because they're only small LEDs. So yeah, that's how you switch that on. Which will pretty much automatically switch on when you push it up against the boards. If you don't want to have it on whilst you're using the boards, then just prise the board slightly apart if you find that it's connecting when it shouldn't be in there. I'll just knock out the lights so you can see the fibre optics working. So that's what the fibre optics are doing. They just basically give a little bit of flickering light into the actual cave itself. So one of the main features of the ocean board is the Wizard's Tower. I've made this removable, so this can be taken off, which gives you this sort of flat platform, which is ideal for like a beacon or something like that, or it could be used as a staging point or landing point for an assault by ship or boat. But the tower basically just sort of fits in there. There is some magnets in there to help the tower sit in there, but to be honest, the tower's quite heavy, so the magnets probably could have been stronger, but it's quite a heavy piece, so once it's actually located, you shouldn't have too many problems with it. The roof comes off, so you've got access to the inner tower, and all the tower pieces come off as well, so I'll label those up for you, W. So one of the really nice features I like about the Wizard's Tower is his washing line. So he's got his washing out, drying, so including his socks. The Wizard's Tower comes complete with this little bucket, which is how he gets his minerals up to the top, and that can be pulled out. That's held on with a little magnet, so you effectively just swing that into the open window, and that will catch. And then that just hangs down, so you can actually pack it away separately if you want. Now the castle was quite a complicated piece. It's built from a model kit, the majority of the castle, but we had to do some modifications to that, which you'll see in the movie. So the kit comes in multiple parts and it's quite complicated. We decided to actually glue most of the pieces together, so you know, it made it easier to for the wargaming side of things, so it didn't all come apart. What can I say about the kit? Now the kit, we've had some comments back about the scale of the kit. Obviously I had no sort of control over the scale. The scale of the castle kit was originally done to true scale, so that's sort of 28mm scale, but it's quite small. So a lot of the doors are a lot smaller than the sort of traditional 28mm, which tends to sort of lean towards the 30mm in character size. So that's why the castle looks slightly smaller in proportion than say the buildings that we custom made for the village, because they were made to 28mm scale. So although Lord of the Rings is sort of around true 28mm, we didn't want to design the buildings necessarily just for Lord of the Rings. We wanted to sort of broaden that range so it could be used for other you know, popular tabletop games. So the 28mm that we went for was slightly larger than the actual true Lord of the Rings scale. So that's why there's a slight sort of difference between the scale of the castle and the buildings themselves. But overall, the castle worked out really well. I think it was, you know, obviously it's a kit, so you can get into it. If I had to custom make the actual castle to come apart in the same way, that would have been an awful lot of work. So the sort of kit did reduce the amount of work that we needed to spend on the castle, and I think overall it looks great, and I'm sure it will play really good, really fine. So I'm very, very happy with that. Hi, thank you for watching. As you can see, it was a very complicated board to put together, and I hope you enjoyed seeing it in this sort of special way. And thanks very much for following us and for subscribing. As you know, it's great to hear all your comments and feedback from each of the movies. So thank you very much, and we hope to see you in the next movie.